Northern Nebraska and parts of South Dakota, we are seeing some storms that are severe and also producing some tornadoes as well. That is because these are ridge riders. These are basically riding that northern ridge, allowing these storms to form. So that's why we're not seeing much convection for our area, because we're under the heat dome. But looking right now, we're still looking pretty good for the drought monitor. We do have a very small portion of Oklahoma that's under a little bit of drought, but for the vast majority of Oklahoma, we're looking really good despite it being so hot out. But right now, we're looking at heat indices well over 100 degrees across most of the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma City can see 102. It still feels very hot and soupy outside. So make sure if you're getting into that work done, you're being hydrated, or might as well just mow your lawn at 10 o'clock at night, because that's probably the smartest thing to do when it's this hot outside. Looking at tomorrow, though, we are going to get up to a 99 degrees about that 4 to 5 o'clock hour, and then heat indices are going to be about 105 at that time. So again, very hot for the next few days. And you can see we do have a trend that's going to be changing by about Friday. So we're going to see 99 and 100 throughout the rest of this week. But then by about Friday, we have a 12-degree drop there. That's because of a system that's going to be pushing through. The heat dome is going to be breaking down around that time, which is going to drop those temperatures this weekend. The reason why we're going to see some of that rain is because that high pressure system is going to push slowly to the west, which will allow a northwesterly flow. So that means some storms are going to start firing up into parts of Colorado, and then later on in the evening and overnight, those storms will come into our area. So we're going to see those storms fire up because of the high pressure system moving to the west. So if in typical weather pattern we see systems move from west to east, but with this high pressure system is moving east to west. So that means we're seeing retrograde, which allows that northwesterly flow to bring in those storms. As we're looking at the 6 to 10 day outlook here, we're going to be above normal for that time period. And also for the temperature thing, about near normal, slightly above normal for that time. We're looking into the farther future, further into August, we're going to see that 8 to 14 day temperature outlook well above normal for our area. And also we are going to be getting very dry again. We're going to probably be a little bit below normal there for the western part of our state. So going to get back into that typical summertime pattern after this weekend, into early parts of next week and later into the first and second week of August. Looking at the metro for tonight, though, a low of 75 degrees. Clear skies. It's going to feel all right tonight. Well, then we're looking at for tomorrow, like I was saying, about that 4 to 6 o'clock hour. It's going to feel very hot outside, very humid. And we're still seeing some heat alerts across parts of Oklahoma here. We're looking at mostly advisories. They are definitely dissipating as we get closer to 8 o'clock. They will all disappear around 8 o'clock. But the reason why we still have some heat advisories out right now is because we are still seeing heat indices well over 90 degrees. With Tulsa, you can still, or 100, it still feels like 100 degrees outside, so it's feeling very hot and very humid even this late into the evening, but it will cool down a little bit as the night progresses. Currently, the SPC does have a marginal risk for some severe weather tonight with storms that could produce some strong winds up to 70 miles an hour, quarter-size hail, but the tornado risk is very low with some of these storms. But we are also looking at a slight risk for some excessive rainfall with these storms that could drop a lot of rain in a very short amount of time. Let's take a look at some of these storms now as we zoom into Enid here. There's some storms right now that is hovering over Enid that is actually dropping a significant amount of rain and having some very nice lightning strikes. So if you're outside watching these, it's probably some beautiful lightning. However, just be safe because lightning is very dangerous, and also there is some flash flooding along with these storms. They are dropping a lot of rain very quickly, so make sure you're staying safe when you're outside, when you're out driving. So those storms are going to push its way to the northeast. We are watching some storms that are pushing into the southwestern part of Oklahoma as well. We're going to keep an eye on those as the evening progresses. So let's take a look at tonight into tomorrow morning. You can see those storms are going to start pushing its way to the northeast, and those storms, and we also are looking at a significant amount of rain that will be coming overnight Friday morning into the panhandle, which is going to drop a lot of rain as well. But those storms will start to dissipate early morning into the afternoon. However, some storms will fire up later on in the day due to the next weather maker, which is that heat dome that is currently slowly moving its way to us this weekend. But it's just enough to drop some rain tomorrow afternoon and also into the evening as well. So we're going to watch as that system pushes out. The heat dome is going to start building its way back in by the weekend, causing the storm coverage to completely dissipate. It's going to start feeling very hot and humid again. No precipitation whatsoever that basically for the next 3 to 4 days as that heat dome really builds in. However, for tomorrow we are seeing some small chances for some rain as well. Looking towards the weekend, you can see that those storms are going to be pushing through Friday into the morning, but by Friday afternoon as well is when those storms will dissipate. But then late afternoon, you can see that same area will have some pop-up thunderstorms because, like I was saying, the heat dome is the weather maker that's causing some of these storms until it completely pushes into our area, which will then dissipate a lot of this storm coverage for our area. We're looking at through Fridays, you can see that Ponca City and Alva, you have about a 1/4 inch of rain with these storms that will be moving through on Friday. You know, not a lot of rain, but just enough that could cause some flash flooding. However, tomorrow we are looking at highs at 97 degrees with the heat index up to 105. So again, it's going to feel very hot and humid outside. If you're going to do any work, make sure you do it in the morning or at night. I don't know if you want to mow your lawn when it's 9 o'clock at night, but you might have to. However, for the weekend, it's going to be mostly dry. The temperatures will be heating up. The heat index values will be well over 100 degrees starting Saturday and into the weekend. As you can see, the 7-day temperature trend by the weekend increasing just the regular temperatures, get up to a 99 on Wednesday. Then we do have a small drop in temperature by late next week, and that is actually going to be due to a system that will be possibly bringing in some rain later next week that we're watching down in the Gulf. However, I'll talk about that in a little bit in a minute. Right now, the biggest issue that we're worried about is this heat dome that will be building in this weekend. These heat indices are going to be well over 100 degrees. As you can see all across the state, these heat indices are going to be about 100 degrees to about 110. Very hot, very humid outside, so it's going to be very miserable for the next 3 to 4 days until later on next week as well, when things are going to cool down just slightly. But we are looking at the 8 to 4 day temperature outlook. We are looking at near normal for our area, and actually for the precipitation outlook for that same time frame, we are going to be above normal for our area, and that is due to, like I said, the system that could be pushing in later next week. This low pressure, this system that is currently pushing its way slowly across the Gulf of America, could make its way up to our area and cause some precipitation later next week. So we're going to keep an eye out on that over the next week or so to see if it's going to push in and kind of cool us down to bring some much needed rain after this heat dome will dissipate just slightly because of that. However, for tonight, we are looking at a low of 75 degrees. We are watching for some storm chances as the night progresses. Looking at our 10-day forecast, like I was saying, we are looking at storm chances tonight. The heat dome builds in this weekend. It's going to be mostly dry for 4 to 5 days while we're watching that system out in the Gulf that could be bringing in some rain later on next week.